The last thing that is preventing you from succeeding and getting to your goals are your bad habits. What you do when you know you shouldn't. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you about everything, the final solution. I'm going to tell you about the 4% rule and everything that you need to know to stop your bad habits and succeed. It's going to take some time, but if one thing is worth your time, it's learning about this and applying it, which you'll be able to do easily after this episode. And just hearing about it is going to be very useful to you, but applying it will be life-changing. And to apply it, the easiest thing you can do is just take some quick notes on your phone, wherever. Just take some notes to apply it later, right? By the way, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Ivaldi Sako. I went from being a broke personal trainer in France to now working with millionaires around the world. And on this podcast, I document what I learned to help you become truly free and successful. Free financially, free in your location, free emotionally, spiritually, and also free from your bad habits. Free to get the life that you really want, right? If this interests you, if you want to grow, this is the podcast for you. So subscribe and do not forget to not miss the next episodes, because this is kind of the part 3 to all the episodes on the habits and distractions and being focused and getting to your goals, really. And there might be a part 4, so you don't want to miss it. And yeah, if you like this episode, like it and share it with someone that you think it might help as well. And let's get into it. So the first part of this episode is going to be about atomic habits and what I learned from the chapter 14 to 19. And after this, I'm going to tell you about the most important things. Even if you read the book, it's going to be very useful to you, because I'm going to also tie in some examples. And at the end, I'll tell you about, if I have some time, because I'm really short on time right now. And it's pretty freaking cold here. The temperature dropped like crazy fast. Anyway, at the end, I'll tell you about some ways you can find exactly what you need for yourself to stop doing and start doing, right? So yeah, let's get into it. The chapter 14 is how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. So the inversion of the third law of behavior change is make it difficult. If you listen to the first part, you know about the four law of behavior change. There are 4 laws of behavior change to make it easy for you to change your behavior, what you do. And the third law is make it difficult, right? Make this bad behavior difficult to do. And here are the notes I took, and it's going to be tremendously useful. A commitment device is a choice you make in the present that locks in better behavior in the future. The ultimate way to lock in future behavior is to automate your habits. The way you do this is, for example, you can, for example, make a choice right now once, and it makes good habits and a good positive change for a long time very easily. For example, you change your mattress and you get a new one, and this helps you sleep a lot better for a long time just with a one-time investment, right? A one-time investment, for example, using a blocking app on your phone. I did this, and this week it was extremely useful. I didn't go on social media at all. App blocking app, an app blocking app, yeah. You do this one time, you set it up, and then you're good to go. It's like it makes your commitment in the long run easily achievable, right? You can stay on the right path very easily because you blocked things out right now. Right now you block it, and then in the future you kind of like protect yourself, your future self. One-time choices like buying a mattress or enrolling in an automatic saving plans are single actions that automate your future habits and deliver increasing returns over time. Using technology to automate your habits is the most reliable and effective way to do the right behavior, right? Just make it so easy for you to do the right thing instead of the wrong thing. And so you'll do it. Chapter 15 is on the cardinal rule of behavior change. And the more we get into the nitty-gritty, the more it's going to be useful. The cardinal rule of behavior change. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. Now there's a slight tweak to it at the end. I'll tell you in a second. It's possible to train yourself to delay gratification, but you need to work with the grain of human nature, not against it. The best way to do this is to add a little bit of immediate pleasure to the habits that pay off in the long run, and a little bit of pain immediately to the habits that create pain in the long run, right? So you have a good habit right now that gets you good results in the future, but not really now. So if you, the habits that are repeated are rewarded immediately. So this is what he says. The cardinal rule of behavior change is what is immediately rewarded is repeated, and what is immediately punished is avoided. To get a habit to stick, you need to feel immediately successful, even if it's in a small way. So if you have a good habit of going to the gym, you need to reward it immediately because you don't see the results until later on, right? So if you want this behavior to be repeated, you need to reward it immediately, right? So right when you went to the gym, you reward yourself in some way that is not counterproductive towards your goal. So you don't reward yourself with a donut if you want to lose weight. Now, if you just want to build up muscle and you're pretty skinny, for example, you could do this because your goal is to gain weight. So you get a couple extra calories in, good. You can get yourself a donut if you really feel rewarded when you get a donut, right? But if you eat donuts every day, it's not going to feel like much of a reward, right? So, to get a habit to stick, you need to feel immediately successful, even if it's in a small way. And now the third law of behavior change, it's make it obvious. No, the first three laws of behavior change are make it obvious, make it attractive, and make it easy. These increase the odds that the behavior will be performed this time, right? If it's if it's obvious, I have it in front of me. If it's attractive, I kind of want to do it. It looks good and it's easy. I just have to do this just for 2 minutes right now. I'll do it this time, right? But for me to repeat it, it's the fourth law of behavior change. It's make it satisfying. And so you need to make it satisfying so you want to repeat it. And so this is why the fourth law of behavior change is extremely useful. Now, there was I listened quickly to the podcast of Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson and Andrew Huberman. And at one point they talked about a quote from Joe Hudson, I think. And it was, what would it be like if this was 10% more enjoyable? And so this kind of makes it satisfying, right? If this right now, this podcast, me filming this podcast, was a little bit more like enjoyable, 10% more enjoyable. Like I could kind of would feel a little bit warmer right now. Right now I'm kind of cold, right? So it would feel like my hands wouldn't be so like I'm frozen right now. Like my hands are really cold because I didn't have the time to warm up the car, and that like the temperature dropped like this. I'm in France, and yeah. What would it look like? What would it look like if it was 10% more enjoyable? I would like kind of open up this, right? My jacket is a little tight on me right now because I closed it. I would be a little warmer. I would be feeling comfortable and not too like intense. I would like kind of enjoy the moment. Maybe I would have went to another area to film this, to have a great landscape to look at, right? And this would make this habit more satisfying. The reason I stick to recording podcasts for more than a year now. Yeah, more than a year and a couple of months, I think. I stick to it because it's kind of rewarding for me. I get out, which I usually don't. I do this in my car, which is rewarding for me because I like getting in my car. I like getting out because most of the time I'm at home, right? So when I get out, it's satisfying. I like doing this here. Oftentimes, if the weather is good, it's sunny, I like it even more, right? So this makes it 10% more enjoyable here and there, and so it makes it more satisfying. So I want to do it more, and so this habit is repeated. So I kept this habit going. Now, back on the atomic habit. record each measurement immediately after the habit occurs. This acts as a little reward after the habit, right? So after you did a good habit, you can just record it. Like you can write that you've done it. So for example, for me, I have a habit tracker. And this is one of the most useful things you can do. Have a habit tracker. So you track your habits. And you track your most important ones at first. Now I have a good amount of habits that I track. At one point, I was even tracking every single food I ate, every single calories I ate, my weight. I was tracking a lot of things. And it took me 15 minutes every day to complete it. And I was like doing it fast. So it was a long habit tracker. Now I reduced it down to the essential things that I need right now in my life. But at first, you just start with one column in the habit tracker. So for example, it can be just an Excel sheet with a column in it and a date, right? So you have the dates on the, like for the lines, right? And you have one column. And in this one column, you can just write an X on it. And you put an X in it once you did this habit. So for example, you want to walk 10,000 steps every day. You walk, like in the column, you write 10,000 steps. On the lines, you write the date, right? And then every day you walk 10,000 steps. Once you did it, you put an X. And this is kind of rewarding, right? This thing is rewarding. And plus, it makes you want to keep doing it because of this trick. Now, you can also do this to stop bad habits. So, for example, every day you don't go on social media, you write an X, right? And so this keeps you accountable. Not only accountable, and it rewards the thing immediately. So right when you are about to go on social media, what you do is that you think, oh, I'm not going to go do it because I'm not going to be able to write this X. I'm not going to be able to check this off. And if I don't check this off, what happens? There's a bad consequences. I lose the reward I would get at the end of the week or even the same day. Every day, for example, you can tie in a reward immediately to not doing a bad habit, right? So you don't go on social media today. If you don't go on social media for one day, then you can write the X, and one X equals $10. So every time you don't go on social media, you get $10, and you can buy whatever you want with it, right? Or you can invest it, and at the end of the week, once you did that every day, if you get this for 7 days straight, you get a bonus, right? And so this kind of acts like a video game, right? You get every day an X, right? And if at the end you have 7, you get $10, a $10 bonus or $20 bonus. Well, however you want to structure this. And I think it would be great to have an app that kind of structures this, and you can kind of create the rules for the streaks. And maybe there's one already. Maybe you can look up one. And yeah, this is extremely useful because once you have this reward to not do this habit or to do this habit, you're much more likely to do it, especially because it's satisfying to write it right after it. And it's satisfying to tell you, okay, if I don't do this right now, I can get $10. And so you kind of have, and when you just don't do it right now, and this is also another thing that I want to touch on later, but I think I'll say it now because I don't have much time. Tell yourself, just not now. And this is a great strategy to not give up, right? I think I learned this from David Goggins a long time ago. He said that he tells himself that he's going to give up. Oh, I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up. Just not now. Just not right now, right? So it keeps you going. It makes you think that it's not going to be so hard, right? Because you're going to be able to do it, but just not now. And so everything that is delayed is most probably never going to happen. So if you delay acting towards your goals, it's most probably not going to happen. If you delay starting to work right now, the more you delay it, the more likely it is for you to never do it. And it works the same way with bad habits. The more you delay and you just wait and you don't do anything, you don't act on the urge. You have this urge, you have this temptation, you have the desire to do it, and then you just don't do it right now. You're going to do it, but just not now. And so if you just don't do it right now, you're more likely not to do it. And when you decide to not do it right now, okay, you stop yourself And if you just stop for 5 minutes, you can reward this. And you can reward this with an X on your Excel sheet. And you say, okay, I didn't do it today. I feel good. I have the right for $10. And then you rewarded this habit. And so you are most likely to repeat this habit. Now, the dark side of tracking a particular behavior is that we become driven by the number rather than the purpose behind it. And I did this a lot. We care more about getting 10,000 steps than we do about being healthy, right? And so, for example, for me, I would walk every night before bed. I would walk 10,000 steps instead of getting to bed early, which if my goal is to get to bed, is to be healthy, it would be better for me to just go to bed early, and it's healthy for me to sleep more and better than to get just the 2,000 steps that I lack, that I just didn't do throughout the day, right? And yet, because I was fixating on the number, I prioritized getting the 10,000 steps. And so you need to be careful because when we choose the wrong measurement, we get the wrong behavior. So if you choose to walk 10,000 steps over sleeping early, that is the wrong measurement, right? It's not as good to walk a little more than to sleep early. Sleeping early will make you healthier on the long run. Measurement is only useful when it guides you and adds context to a larger picture, not when it consumes you. And then he says in the book, one of the most satisfying feelings is the feeling of making progress. And a habit tracker is a simple way to measure whether you did the habit or not, right? So I'm marking an X on your calendar. This is very satisfying. And this helps you also stay accountable. Don't break the chain. Try to keep your habit streak alive. Never miss twice. This is a rule also. If you miss one day, get back on and try as quickly as possible. Because then instead of missing one day, you're transforming it into a habit of missing, right? So if you miss one day, if you fail one thing, if you just fail to not go on social media one day, don't let it turn into 2 days. Because once it turns into 2 days, it's a repetition. And once it's a repetition, every time you do something, you're more likely to do it again. And so it turns into a habit. And so this is the worst thing that can happen. Just because you can measure something doesn't mean it's the most important thing. I measure the amount of deep work I do, right? So the most important thing is not for me to do 6 deep work, but to get the task for the goal done. And if it takes 1 deep work only, it's actually better, right? So I need to track, and so this is why I track also the tasks I get done, right? If I get this done, okay, then I get rewarded. And actually I need to update my habit tracker because I don't really get rewarded based on the amount of tasks I got done, but more for the deep work I got done. And this is more because sometimes I just put myself goals that I don't know how much time it's going to take me to achieve. Sometimes it's going to take me 6 deep work. Sometimes it's going to take me 1. So, based on that, I kind of can't really reward myself on the task done. But you can also measure that. And so it's important to do so. The more immediate the pain, the less likely the behavior. If you want to prevent a bad habit and eliminate unhealthy behaviors, then adding an instant cost to the action is a great way to reduce their odds. The inversion of the 4th law of behavior change is make it unsatisfying, right? So if you want to repeat a habit, you want to make it satisfying to do it. If you want to make sure you don't repeat a habit, you don't repeat an action, you make it unsatisfying. You make it just not feel good or painful. And an accountability partner can create an immediate cost to inaction because we care deeply about what people think of us and we do not want others to have a lesser opinion of us. And so maybe you can have a habit contract to add a social cost to any behavior because it makes it it makes the cost of violating the contract, like, it makes it public and painful, right? So if people see you fail, okay, you're most likely going to try to not fail. Knowing that someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator. And here are some additional tactics. In the book, chapter 18, The Truth About Talent, When Genes Matter and When They Don't. The secret to maximizing your odds of success is to choose the right field of competition. This is just as true with habit change as it is with sports and business habits. And business habits are easier to perform and more satisfying to stick with when they align with your natural inclinations and abilities. Like, for example, Michael Phelps in the pool and Hicham El Guerrouj on the track. So Michael Phelps is the swimmer, and El Guerrouj is a runner. And it's because they have different abilities. Their genes, like physically, Michael Phelps is made for swimming, and Guerrouj is made to run, right? They have the physical disposition to do this. And so when they create a habit based on their genes, they are more likely to stick with it because it's more satisfying. In short, genes do not determine your destiny, they determine your areas of opportunity. So how do I figure out the odds that are in my favor in the first place? We look for an answer by understanding your personality. Now, the most proven way to have a scientific analysis of your personality is known as the Big Five, which breaks down behavior in five main spectrums. 1, openness to experience. 2, consciousness. 3, extroversion or introversion, right? Agreeableness and neuroticism. And for example, high agreeableness in people are more likely to stick with the habits of like writing thank you notes or doing things that social things, because they are agreeable, they like people, right? And something like that. Someone that is high in neuroticism, he will be more anxious and worried than others, and more likely, for example, sensitive to negative cues in their environment. So for example, there's like possible danger. This is a big thing. And so for me, what I get rewarded more for, because I think higher on neuroticism than agreeableness, for example, it's running from pain. And so when I tie a habit to running from pain, it's very easy for me to do it. And this is how I've been able to go carnivore for 3 months, because it was painful for me to eat other things because it's created in me, it made me have more psoriasis or allergies, and this created for me pain. And so for me, running from pain, running from this danger, made it extremely rewarding and satisfying for me to go carnivore. And so I sticked with it, right? I kept doing it. To find what game you should play where the odds are in your favor, you can just go about it with trial and error. And at the beginning, have a period where you explore, and then a period of when you exploit. When you find yourself successful at what you explored. So for example, Google employees have 20% of their time to explore new things based on their curiosity, right? And based on the things that work, they go all in the projects. And this is how Google Maps was created. Or I think maybe even Gmail. And now they are extremely successful products. And you can ask yourself these questions. And I think these were extremely useful questions for me. What feels like fun to me but work to others? Write it down and try to find the answers on your own time. And I'm going to get much faster on this because I'm running late. What comes naturally to me? When have I felt alive, like this is the real me? Where do I get greater returns than the average person? What makes me lose track of time? Also, you can get more specific. For example, you have multiple skills and you are not the best one at each of them, right? You're not the best comedian. You're not the best writer. You're not the best drawer. You like to draw, but you're not the best one. But you are the best one that knows how to write jokes and also draw. So when combining this, you can create your own specific field where you are the best at, right? So this is kind of like the way you can make the game that you play at a game where you can win easily. Genes do not eliminate the need for hard work, they clarify it. They tell us what to work hard on. So when you answer these questions, you can maybe have some kind of direction toward where to go. Chapter 19, the Goldilocks rule. How to stay motivated in life and work. When you're starting a new habit, it's important to keep the behavior as easy as possible so you can stick with it even when conditions aren't perfect. Once a habit has been established, however, it's important to continue to advance in small ways. These little improvements and new challenges keep you engaged. And if you hit the Goldilocks zone just right, you can achieve a flow state. A flow state is the experience of being in a zone, fully immersed in an activity. And the right zone is what scientists called the 4% rule. And so the 4% rule states that you need to have an activity that you do that is 4% harder than your current skills, than your current ability. And so if you hit this percentage right, now it doesn't have to be exactly 4%, but it's like this is what they determined, and actually you cannot really, make it 4% exactly harder, but if you just make it a little outside of your current abilities, it creates a challenge that, you're not exactly sure if you can or cannot do it, and it's not too easy. It's not too easy, like you don't get bored, like, I know I can do this, or you get bored, because boredom is the one killer of success. And I'll tell you about it right now, because this is one of the most insightful thing I got this week, because I fall into this trap very easily. For example, this week, I registered to a judo class. And I did this, even though I already go to the gym, I already kind of swim a little bit here and there. And I don't have time to go to a judo class. I shouldn't have the time. But I did this because I just wanted to do something new, because my work right now feels very boring. I'm just basically working on Google Docs all day long. And I'm just documenting everything for the service delivery of the company. And so it feels very boring. It feels very hard. And I kind of wanted like something new. So I started coaching more people as a personal trainer, just because I wanted something new. I was like, I can make like a few bucks here and there, right? I have some new clients this week because I just wanted to do something new. I accepted this because I wanted something new. And so it's kind of like the shiny object syndrome, right? I'm not able to stick with the boredom, right? And so this is extremely important. He asked an Olympian coach the question, what's the difference between the best athlete and everyone else? And the coach answers, at some point, it comes down to who can handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over. And so this is what you got to do. You got to be comfortable with boredom. You got to love the boredom. Like you got to love the process and be so like enjoying the boredom, enjoying the repetition and putting in the reps, and kind of make this satisfying. But at some point, it's going to be boring. So you need to be able to stick through it. The greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. And to reduce boredom, you can add variables to your work. So you work sometimes with music, you work sometimes with in different places, you add novelty, right? But at some point it still gets boring. Professionals stick with the schedule, amateurs let life get in the way. So this, I think, was extremely useful. And I also was, I'll tell you about now the things I learned from asking myself, what do I not want, right? Because sometimes it's very hard because you don't have role models around you to model from and to do these good behaviors, but you know what you don't want, right? You most likely not necessarily know exactly what you want, but you know what you don't want. And so based on that, I asked myself, okay, what do I not want to become? Like, right? I don't want to become an alcoholic. I don't want to become an addict. I don't want to be a lazy guy. I don't want to be a weak man. I don't want to be indecisive. I don't want to be scared and with low self-esteem and low confidence. I don't want to be a sloppy guy. I don't want to be like disgusting in the way like impolite. I don't want to be like treat people bad and think myself above of everybody else. I don't want to be poor, right? I don't want to be dependent on people. I don't want to be limited, right? I don't want to be all these things. So ask yourself, what do you not want to be like? And so then based on these, you can know what you are currently doing and that you should stop doing. So for me, I know that I must stop watching movies, right? I must stop listening to music. I must stop, or at least too much, right? I must stop listening and watching too many podcasts, right? For getting too much information in. I must stop getting distracted, being slow, being indecisive, and letting decisions unmade for long periods of time. I must stop being scared. I must stop doing too many things at the same time, like business, coaching, have my health life, my social life, judo, podcast, doing too many things at the same time. I must stop. And so I just decided to not go on forward with judo, and I'm going to stop taking on clients, even though like right now, like I accepted like 100 euros an hour coaching session with clients. I'm just not going to accept anybody else. And I must stop being frustrated and let go, don't care. I must stop eating sugar during the week. I must stop sleeping after 9 p.m. and stop waking up with an alarm. Because one thing that I did this week that was extremely useful and I had the best, most productive day of the week was when I slept at 9:30 p.m. and I woke up with no alarm. I woke up with no alarm and I got the most productive. I got the most things done. I was the happiest. I was like, great day. And the next day, I went, and the same day actually, I had planned to go to the judo class. So I went, and the next day, next thing you know, I slept at 11:30 p.m. I mean, the same day I slept at 11:30 p.m. and I woke up and I had slept a little less and I woke up with an alarm and I had the worst day. Right, I had the worst day of the week. It was like a 6 out of 10 based on my habit tracker, and the best day was a 9 out of 10. Right, so this tells you like sleep is extremely important, and I was able to know this looking back on it on the week because I have a habit tracker. Right, so maybe you can create yourself one, and I have another video where I give you can watch on my YouTube channel. There's a video on a habit tracker or the reward system. Yeah, the reward system, I think. And on this video, I give you the link to the habit tracker to make it easy for you to have the habit tracker. And yeah, if this was useful, like, subscribe.